Treasurer, thanks for joining us.
Good to be with you, Andrew.
The Prime Minister's billing it as the most important budget since the World War II. That suggests immense spending. How big?
Well, obviously the deficit will be very significant and the debt burden will increase, but this is the price of protecting lives and livelihoods. The Australian economy, Andrew, has faced its biggest economic shock in more than 100 years. You've seen 10% of the workforce either lose their job or see their hours reduced to zero. In response, the Morrison government has announced record support that's helped cushion the blow, that's helped keep that formal connection between employers and employees, and that's now seen more than half of those jobs lost coming back. But there'll be more to do, and in this budget we move to the next phase of the economic recovery plan, and it's all about creating jobs. It's all about helping those who are out of work get back into work and helping all of those who are in a job stay in a job.
So in essence it's got to be big because the economy needs it.
The economy does need it. There is still major challenges ahead and the road is hard, but there is also cause for optimism and hope. We've seen the economy fighting back. In the last 3 months, 458,000 jobs have been created, 60% of which have gone to women, 40% to young people. So outside of Victoria, jobs are being created, and once you can suppress the virus, the restrictions can be eased and more people can get back to work.
Hangovers from recessions take a very long time to be resolved. The last one took 10 years to get below 6% unemployment, which is the marker you've put on it. How long will this last?
Well, unemployment tends to go up the elevators and come down the stairs. And in the 1980s, it took 6 years to get unemployment back below 6% from where they started. And in the 1990s, it took 10 years to get it below 6% from where they started. We're hoping to move faster than that, and that's why in this budget you'll see more economic activity as a result of our initiatives creating more jobs.
Okay, you say job creation is going to be your key theme. Tell us about this wage subsidy scheme that you're going to announce.
Well, at a cost of $1.2 billion, we're helping to create 100,000 new apprentices. That's for people who are working as bakers, hairdressers, those who are sparkies, those who are plumbers. We have already announced $2.8 billion of initiatives to support apprentices. This is now going a step further, helping to create new apprenticeships in a very difficult time.
If it's good enough for tradies, if it's good enough for apprenticeships, and I'd argue that that's more male-dominated than female, what about across the other industries which might have a few more female workers?
Well, again, we'll have more to say on budget night about other initiatives to create jobs. We'll also be
wage subsidies.
Well, again, Andrew, I'll let you speculate on that. We will be announcing a women's economic security statement, building on our first statement, and that's designed to help women get into male-dominated industries. Importantly, jobs for women are coming back. Women were 54% of those jobs that were lost, and there have been 60% of the jobs that have come back. So there are some positive signs, and prior to this crisis, workforce participation for females was at a record high. The gender pay gap had been closing, but now there is more work to do after this large economic shock.
The economy is being held together with some band-aids. A big one, JobKeeper, comes off at the end of March. What will hold the economy together between the end of March and July?
Well, JobKeeper was always a temporary and targeted program, the largest economic support program any Australian government has ever undertaken at $101 billion. And right now it's supporting 3.8 million Australian workers. But as the restrictions are eased, as the virus is suppressed, those jobs are coming back and we move to the next phase. And so in this budget, you'll see incentives for investment to create more economic activity, and that is designed to create more jobs. So you don't need programs like JobKeeper.
But will we have to wait until July 1 next year for the tax cuts?
Again, I don't want to preempt what is in the budget, other than saying the tax cuts that the Australian people voted on at the last election and we subsequently legislated is all about rewarding effort, encouraging the power of aspiration, putting more money into people's pockets, and when you do so, that creates more economic activity and more jobs.
I'm told it would be too administratively complex to bring forward the tax cuts to January 1, but you could bring them back to July 1 this year. That would be bold.
It won't surprise you. I won't speculate on the speculation, other than to say Under the coalition, taxes will always be lower. That's our track record, and that's what you'll see going forward.
The problem with tax cuts, however, is that some people will choose to save that money. That's a problem you can't have, is it?
Well, it's not for us to tell Australians how they spend their money.
Well, you'd like to in these circumstances, wouldn't you?
But we do know that putting more money into people's pockets means more economic activity and means more jobs. Now, the savings ratio has gone up, but that's been a function of the restrictions that have been put in place. So you can't go to the local pub, you can't go to the cafe, you can't take a holiday as you normally would, and you can't spend as you normally would. But once those restrictions are eased and people are getting back to work and life is coming back to a COVID-safe normal, then that more money will be spent, the savings ratio will go down.
Tell us about that moment when you realised you wouldn't be able to deliver that surplus. It must have been an awesome moment.
Well, Andrew, since the election, it's felt like the year's never ended, because over the summer we had obviously the terrible bushfires and the ongoing drought, and despite those tragedies, the budget still remained in good shape and we're still on track to deliver that surplus. But then we got a 1-in-100-year pandemic and all things changed as a result. But our response has always been about putting Australians first. It's also always been about creating jobs. And it was very clear very early, once the pandemic hit, that the fortunes in the budget would change.
All right, populations underpin the economy, underpin the budget for decades. You're going to be forecasting net overseas migration going backwards for 2 years. What's the plan?
Well, population growth will be at its lowest level in more than 100 years. And net overseas migration will be at its lowest level in 46 years. And again, this is a function of closed borders. This is also a function of the fertility rate declining. And that is, again, something that has occurred as a result of COVID-19. The three drivers of economic growth are population, participation and productivity. So we have been beneficiaries of a growing population. But once restrictions are eased, hopefully that vaccine is found, border closures will end and people start to travel as normal. Deloitte
Access Economics says that in 2 years the population will be 600,000 fewer people than it was forecast pre-pandemic. That's alarming, surely.
Well, these numbers are very significant and they are having a significant impact. And you will again see that play out in the budget, but it is what it is, Andrew. COVID-19 has turned the world on its head. It has changed the way we go about our daily lives. In fact, our daily lives have effectively been put on hold by the virus, and people's travel across borders, be it domestic or be it international, has slowed or stopped, and that is having an economic impact.
Some months back you had an ambition that this budget would be a launch pad for economic reform. Did the Victorian outbreak change that?
The economic reform agenda continues, and you've already seen announcements to date around energy, around manufacturing, around the largest insolvency reforms in 30 years.
You've got nothing on
the
IR.
Flow of credit. Work is underway on industrial relations, and I'm hopeful of some breakthroughs in that area to create more flexible workplaces. And let's not forget, Andrew, that when we brought in the JobKeeper payments, we also brought with it temporary changes to create more flexible workplaces. But you're right about Victoria. That has had a very big impact, and it's Treasury's estimate that it's reducing economic growth in the September quarter by around 2 percentage points, $12 to $14 billion. And of course, more people are going to be requiring JobKeeper out of Victoria. So it has been Treasury's estimate that there'll be more people on JobKeeper in Victoria in the December-March quarters than from all the other states combined.
All right, JobSeeker, the dole. Why should we have to wait until after the budget to find out what happens to the JobSeeker payment?
Well, again, we have doubled the safety net with the extension of JobSeeker, and we will make a decision about the future rate of that payment at the end of this year.
But why?
Because we want to see what's happening in the labour market and those dynamics, because obviously we want people to move between jobs, and we want those jobs to be there for them. But the Prime Minister, myself and others have said that we will be leaning into that announcement.
But surely you should be leaning heavily into telling us what's happening with JobSeeker
Well, again,
on Tuesday.
it's continuing at that reduced rate till the end of the year, and we'll make a decision then.
All right, lastly, what do you hope to achieve on Tuesday night? What is the lasting impression you want to leave with Australians on Tuesday?
Andrew, this budget's all about jobs. What I want to do is help Australians who are out of work get into work, and Australians who are in a job stay in a job. I don't want to see a repeat of those experiences with previous Australian recessions. This pandemic has hit the Australian economy like no other economic shock, and our response has been unprecedented in its size and in its scope. And we'll continue moving to the next stage of our economic recovery plan by creating more jobs with the budget on Tuesday night.
Josh Frydenberg, thanks for your time.
Good to be with you.